Hello. I have lost my woohooer.
Oh no! Woohoo! There you go. Got it for you.
What's up,
Hi.
Captain Lady Moon?
What's up?
It's so good to see you, my friend. I feel like it's been many moons.
It has been many months. That's because that's why.
But you know what? I'm excited. I talk about you all the time on here. We
Aw.
are waiting for your new show. Everybody is excited about what you have to unleash to the world. I want people to know too. It's very cool because it's something that's been in the back of our heads for a while, and it was something that I just kind of talked about in a general group. And Aubrey was like, "Well, I actually have some experience in that," and then she told me about a fantastic story that her and her friend wrote, and I was like, "Wow, dude, that would be fun." So this is kind of a near and dear project. It has been over a year in the making.
Yeah, we're in post production right now. We're just getting all the music and the editing and everything done. We've recorded all the episodes for it. What we're gonna call first season, because with scheduling and everything just kind of had to be worked out the way it did. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yes.
We're gonna have a great time with
If
it. I think you guys are all gonna love it and enjoy it.
Sorry, if you are a fan of all things Kyber Cave, the different shows that we have done throughout the years, of course, you know Aubrey. She is on many of the shows. But if you are a fan of that, and if you are a lover and a fan of D&D, I know a lot of people do that. Like they have like groups back home, like every Thursday night, they a certain crew of people and they D&D out. So there's so many people that are into it. I am really excited about this. It is going to be a lot of fun. So when that hits, we are going to
Yeah, no, I think everyone's gonna love it. Yeah, but I do miss our other shows. I really miss Kyber, Hearts of Kyber, and I do miss the gaming shows. But this is a great gaming show, and it's gonna be great. And it's with the book, the game system that my friend and I wrote. So I'm really proud of it.
Well, this is very lovely.
And enough about the new order.
And before we get to the nerdy news, I want to thank everybody tuning in right now. There was a whole list of people we haven't even. And by the way, did you click all the people on the side there?
I've not yet. I'm going to click on them right now so we can get them all.
Dan Shady. Oh, the Mike Berger is in the house. We got Duran C as Nabble 66. Woohoo! Thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Shop Gremlin.
That was me.
I am excited. This show is another one that I have literally been waiting for about 2 years now. We've been doing this Saber Rattle for almost 4 years now, or over 4 years now. Just at 4, yeah. Isn't it crazy?
So
the
long.
pandemic was in 2020, so this show started as a result of us having to close our doors during the pandemic, and us like needing a way to stay in touch with our fan base. So that's kind of crazy. So this show has been running for 4 years now, and for at least 2 years, this gentleman that we have on tonight, I have been dying to get onto the show. So we have a very, very good show.
I agree. I think we do have a really, really good show. So,
but before we get to that, we have some what? Nerdy news.
All right, let me get our nerdy news.
What do you got for us there, Captain?
Well, today we have our Lego Star Wars celebrates 25 years with a charming new short. So, yeah, Lego Star Wars has been going on. Do you remember when the first Star Wars Lego came out?
Wow, 25 years of Lego
Star
Wars.
1999.
That's crazy.
No, Lego Star Wars has inspired kids and adults with incredible building sets, smart animated tales, and beloved games. In celebration of its landmark anniversary, the Lego Group and Lucasfilm has released a charming new Lego Star Wars short just ahead of Star Wars Day. So this was a while ago. This was April 30th, 2024, when they talked about this, but we're just now getting it now to the nerdy news.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just we need this quarter century celebration, needed to be celebrated in a momentous way. Something
Lego
special.
Stars. And if you need a Lego Saber, don't forget we have that for you over at kybercave.com. There is actually a Lego Saber on the site.
That is amazing.
We have
So,
two.
anyways, it's just funny because Star Wars Day is my birthday, and it's just funny that they have like the 25th year anniversary. Anyway, that's for Star Wars. That's our first nerdy news.
Woo!
Oh, so it should be coming soon. I'm guessing it was released, I believe, the day before. So anyway, so that's that one we have for nerdy news number one. And then nerdy news number two is Dressing the Acolyte and Assassins hunts the Jedi of the High Republic. So
Ooh.
and that one, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the Acolyte now. I think it's come out
Yes, the first two
more
episodes
recently.
have been out on Disney Plus.
So this
We
is
we
go
won't
ahead.
give any spoilers here, so if you know anything already, don't give away too much. But we
I don't.
definitely can talk about their outfits.
All right. So this is by costume designer Jenna Bryan, and
Ooh.
she gives us a closer look at May, Sol, Indara, and the other characters of the new Star Wars series. And she says that this is basically a murder mystery series. I don't know much about it other than that. It's just saying that's what the news says on this article here.
Right.
And costume designer Jennifer Bryan knew the Jedi robes and May's assassin garments needed to work in harmony, essentially two sides of the same coin, while simultaneously ushering in a new era of design for the series set during the High Republic. So this is about 100 years prior to Star Wars: The Phantom Menace.
Right. What's up,
So
Duran?
to maintain that delicate balance, Ryan and her team looked to real-world warriors and previous Star Wars costumes, then remixed the individual elements to something brand new. Among her inspirations were Trisha Bigger's prequel costumes, which Brian studied up close during a visit to Skywalker Ranch's archives. And then she just took the different warrior, of different nations, I guess, the different warrior uniforms, and she basically put them all in together, which is really kind of cool.
Yeah, they're actually very beautiful costuming. I think they did a great job in that department in making them look different, but not necessarily the same, and giving functionality and meaning to their outfits as well. I'm enjoying that aspect of this the story very much. So yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
I'd love to check
So
that
that's
out.
what we've got for the news. Basically, just
Woo!
these
Nerdy
really
news.
interesting. we
And of
really should
course,
have like a slow thing for that, for a little swoopy thing for it.
all of that is going to be down below in the details. The links for that will be there. So if you want to find out
We
more about either of those articles, really quickly, I want to let you know we have exciting news. It has all been started and put together as of yesterday, but I want you to mark your calendar for August 3rd. We're going to be talking about this every show until August 3rd hits. We
What's
have
going
Kyber Con 4 coming. It will be in
Woo!
Vacaville, yes. And we have one confirmed special guest already. Our special guest will be Chris Bartlett, who, if you've been watching the show, has been on the show in the last couple, like 3 shows ago.
Mm-hmm.
He is the C3PO for Disney Plus. So
Oh,
he's been in
amazing.
Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, the Mando. Anytime you've seen C3PO specifically, but he also does 19 other mech and robot characters on that show. So, but C3PO is his best known, obviously.
So
He
I
will
just
be
had
at
to star
Kyber
this.
Cave.
Yep. So real quick, I just had to star this. They're like, wait, 4:30 your birthday? No, my
No.
birthday is on Star Wars Day, which is May 4th. So just to give you an idea, no, I was born on May 4th. So May the 4th be with you.
Aubrey Hepburn's birthday.
Yes.
Audrey Hepburn. Oh, I said Aubrey Hepburn. Audrey Hepburn's
Well, it's
birthday.
okay.
Yeah.
And then there's the Acolyte. And then Duran says, hello, Kyber Cave family. So we've got there. And so tell me more about KyberCon 4.
So
I was
yes,
there for
August
KyberCon
3rd,
3.
it is going to be a free event. It will be in Vacaville at our location in the All Funked Up Collectibles store in the Vacaville outlets. Chris Bartlett is already confirmed he will be here. He's already been posting on his page about it. We
Awesome.
also have confirmed the Mando Mercs will be there, and the Imperial Outlanders will
Awesome.
Costume Club will be there. It's going to be a free event for everybody, so there's going to be no cost. I'm going to try to get a couple more Star Wars celebrities, but I'm not gonna overboard it because it is going to be free to the public.
Are
We're
we
going to
gonna
have
get our friend
costume
there again?
contest. Was that?
Mm-hmm. Are we gonna get our friend there again, John Michaels?
Well, probably John will be back in Korea at that point, so John will
Sad
not be
face.
there. But I will be excited to meet Chris for the very first time. We'll do a celebrity panel, hourly gifts and giveaways, and a costume contest. So
Yay!
August 3rd, put it on the calendar.
That is exciting.
Put it in your brain. We have to have you come out, Aubrey. We should also do.
I was there last time, so probably will.
I would love to do a KCP live broadcast all day and have like you and Mez and Anthony be our celebrity guests. You can sign autographs for all the peoples to all the peasants.
Now and I know you'll be busy selling the sabers. I have two, by the way. I have two sabers. And they work very well. I've fought with them.
Sabers are love.
They are love. They are life. So Kyber Con 4, August 3rd. I'm sure Netzo's going to tell me all about it when she gets back. She's on vacation.
Oh yes,
right now.
She is on vacation. She will be back in a month. For right now, speaking of spinning sabers,
yes,
we have an incredible flow of the show. Do you want to let us know who that is?
Our flow of the show is let me check.
I know I saw fire. I get excited because it was fire.
I know it's a fire person. I do not have my notes here for it, though. She did not give me the notes. I think she had a lot in her mind. Who is it?
I think it's Spinning Spades. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, it's going to be a surprise for both of us, and for all of you, because that's what we're going to do. We're just going to run it, and
let's just all enjoy it together.
Let's all enjoy it together. Wow. All right. Wow. You were correct. Give this man a cookie because he knew you were.
There's not often things I am correct on. I want to thank our fabulous producer, James Kaiser. He has been with us for a couple of years. God, I can't believe how fast time flies. But every week, he is the one that brings us the flow of the show. A lot of times, he's introducing us to new artists. Sometimes we get artists that we've seen doing one thing, and now they're doing something different. I'll tell you what. And not only do I admire the people that do the fire, because I can't even conceive of not burning myself to death, but I feel like especially since we started these videos, we've been doing this segment. We haven't done Flow of the Show for the whole 4 years of the show. It's only been about 2 years that we've been doing Flow of the Show.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they're getting better and better. They're getting like more movie quality, like, you know, the
Yeah.
background and the setting that he had there, and the different shots that he had of going through the, you know, the passageway or whatever. I just thought were cinematic and gorgeous.
They were beautiful. Yeah. I have one gripe about it.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's the music. It's just the music. I didn't think the music flowed especially well with it because I
Yeah.
think it could have higher quality music to it, but
Okay,
it is
okay, so here's
because
the
it's
thing.
beautifully shot.
Just so everybody knows, that music was not picked out or produced by them. It's not picked out or produced by James. It's actually our director Marissa who adds music that's friendly, because a lot of times they submit music that we can't show on air.
That makes sense.
And so she has to replace the music with some other type of music. So
I'm sorry. I love you.
Yeah, hey, you know what? That woman works very hard. She
works
does
so
this
hard.
every single week, and you know,
She does.
sometimes it's easier to match music than other weeks.
Right, and honestly, it has nothing to do with her ability to match anything. It has nothing to do with that. I think she was just probably hard pressed. She probably does it normally well every other week. I think it wasn't bad. It was good. It just wasn't quite. I could tell that it was separate. They were done separately in the sense of like, you know, she did a good job. She did great.
We love and appreciate you, Marissa. Have fun on your vacation.
I love you.
Every other thing, like all the segments that you see and the video shots that you've seen, are pre-produced by our fantastic director, Mez. So
no, she's fantastic, and I feel awful now because I said that. And who am I to speak about it? She worked so hard. Okay, anyways, we're gonna move on. Let's just
rewind, move on. All right.
Yes.
Our fantastic guest tonight.
Yay! I said yes. Let's go do that.
Do you know anything about this person, Aubrey?
Except that he's like an amazingly friendly, charismatic, intelligent person. No.
Have you ever heard of him outside of like getting ready to do this show?
You know, don't you know who I am?
You know what? It's totally cool if you haven't. However, I will say that if you are into prop making, if you are into like foam costuming, if you're into a lot of, you know, that world of like, you know, really intricate.
Oh my! He just came. I don't know what just happened. Sorry, guys. I think it's his internet. His internet's going. It's been a little haywire. Yeah. So our guest. I'm just gonna wait for a minute to see if Fan pops back on. But if he doesn't, I know. Just missed Fan. Just he almost was there. But just so you know, this guy is an amazing prop maker, and I believe he's done much of movies where he's made costumes. As far as I know, that's what I've heard. There he is. There he's hold on 1 second. He's coming right back on here.
Oh my goodness.
Thanks.
I'm like wiping down my keyboard. I hit some, but I don't know. Have any idea what I hit. And of course, it's during, you know, an intro of an amazing guest. Don't forget you're on comments too, Aubrey. So make sure.
Yes, I know. I see it. Comments. I see them. I was just. Whew.
All right, and I know we have people waiting for this gentleman too. Our guest tonight is an amazing world-class builder. In fact, he's got some incredible projects that he's working on now. I have seen him multiple times at different shows. He goes to different conventions. I've seen him at SAC Anime. I've seen him at Sci-Fi Silicon convention, horror conventions. There's tons of different places that you can see him. He has a very well-renowned website. And is an amazing builder, and just like you said, a very charismatic and amazing man. Right. So with this, no further ado, please bring on Odin.
Real quick, before we go, he said someone just said, I scared the new girl. No, I've been here for 2 years. I just am not part of Saber Rattle. So I'm not new. Just
Right. She
Saber
just
Rattle.
says stand in for this show. All
Yeah.
right. Roll
Anyway,
film.
without further ado, I'm
Now
going.
that you broke that whole of me of like rolling it in. Oh man. I'm sorry about all the technical difficulties there. How are you doing, Mr. Odin?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm a lot better now that I'm talking to you. Oh
Okay,
man,
good.
your work is absolutely amazing. Thank you so.
Thank
Like I
you.
said, I've been ever since I first saw you. I think the first time I met you was at, I want to say, like SAC Anime. I think you were in one of like the hallways, and you kind of had this area by yourself, and you had amazing props. You had a table with amazing. I think you. I don't know if you had, because I do remember at Silicon, I believe you had the mech suit at that
Yes.
time, and I can't remember if you had the mech Godzilla suit.
I've been to Silicon twice. I only had a booth once. When I had a booth, I had Mechagodzilla with me.
Okay,
Otherwise, I went previously with my friend Joe, and we wore the Gundam and just kind of walked around and hung out with SKS props and built around.
right.
From Punished Props. Yeah.
Your work is
Thank
absolutely
you.
amazing. How long have you been doing this? How long have you been making props? Is this something? I mean, ever since you were a little kid, you were like cutting things out of wood, or
Yeah.
are you a prop maker at heart?
I'm a prop maker at heart. I may want to make it look like how it looked on screen at heart. Getting it going, I talk about cutting things out of wood as a kid. Actually, not so much. My dad wasn't a woodworker, so I didn't grow up with woodworking tools in the garage. Dad was a metal worker. But still, he would go out and build anything. And then mom was incredibly crafty. So I was kind of doomed from the start to do something creative. But yeah, I wanted to, when I was growing up, 70s, 80s, one of the things I can really remember is the old Mego walkie-talkies. So Mego made Star Trek walkie-talkies. I left that part out. Mego was a toy company. But they looked like a standard at the time, they had a flip cover, so they tried to copy Star Trek, but they were blue. And they were huge, and they were completely wrong. They're not what I saw in Star Trek. And that's the main thing I really remember. Like, no, I want the one from the show, not this giant thing they had to make because the current electronics and how it needs to work or whatever.
Right.
So I started making stuff for Halloween. I started making stuff in high school just to do it. A lot of blood and guts in high school because I was really into horror monsters. Yeah, so I just made to make. And because of that, met other friends, started helping out with independent films and college projects. And I've been doing the channel now for 7 years. And even prior to that, I was doing props. I used to work in another YouTube channel called Smosh. I worked with them for about 5 years as props and set maker. So yeah, it's been ongoing building stuff out of foam for going on 40 years.
Wow.
So it's been a bit. I'm old, by the way.
I'm sure you have learned a lot across the years about different materials and different ways to make things. It blows me away when I see one of your costumes, especially I see, like, say your Mechagodzilla or your Gundam, which in our brains we always associate that with heavy metals, right? But to see somebody walking around with that, it is truly mind blowing. How do you go about doing something like that? Do you envision something in your head first and then figure out how the human being fits in there, or do you build around the person, or what is your process?
Okay, a little column A, a little column B. With the Gundam especially, it was somewhat easy because we have a very set, this is what it is, right? And we were able to find a 3D model and then use that to scale it to be able to fit on top of Joe. For the Mechagodzilla, since that was made to fit me and it was a bit more loose, because all I had were photos from the original movie, and all I wanted to do was the 77 or 74 version, I guess, whichever way you want to look at it. Because I saw it in the States in like 76, 77. It was called the Bionic Monster. And I got excited because I was a huge Bionic Man fan. For that one, literally, in order to start figuring out how it was going to fit on me, I took a toy that I had, a little 6-inch vinyl figure that had accurate details to what I wanted. That was a trick, finding stuff that had the right details, so it wasn't someone's interpretation. And I took a picture of that, and then I took a picture of me in a blank background, kind of making the same pose, so I could scale them on top of each other in Photoshop.
Right.
Then I knew my height, and I could start figuring out how wide Mecha needed to be, how tall he was going to be. Was I going to fit through a door? Well, yeah.
Right.
And as far as making it fit around me, for the most part, it's just hollow. I don't. There's not a lot of heavy structure inside of Mechagodzilla outside of the head.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a big sleeve that I kind of put on, and it attaches to itself. Which worked, but at this point, I'm considering changing how that goes together because it makes it kind of slow to put on.
Right.
Mechagodzilla he's like a tube for an upper arm with like accordion bellows on the elbow and on the shoulder, and all the pieces Velcro together. So everything hangs off the shoulders, which gives me great mobility, and then I can wash the vinyl parts because they get dirty.
Right.
But yeah, I'm thinking about so it hung as a sleeve. I guess I'm kind of deviating a little bit, and I knew that was coming up, and I knew also just from watching how it moved in the movie that the lower body I was going to make like a pair of fishing waders. So the pants attached to like a waist piece,
right,
almost like the way C-3PO does, right? But that's much higher than it needs to be, and then it has suspenders, and then the upper body goes on over that, kind of like a big jacket. So I'm able to twist at the waist because the two pieces aren't connected to each other.
Right.
Helps a lot. Well, I'm still pretty restricted.
I can imagine, especially, we talk. I've talked to other people on this show about kind of like cosplay culture in general and how it's changed over the years. It's taken, it seems very commonplace to talk about conventions and anime cons and, the Comic Cons and all that thing nowadays. But 20, 30 years ago, these were tiny little rooms with, maybe 100 people and people coming together to sell just literally comic books to each other.
Some of them.
Right. And so, to see also the evolution of the costumes that people would wear. And, nowadays you'll see people that have fans in their costumes because they're going to be wearing it all day long. And they've got amazing electronics with soundboards attached to them, and I mean it's almost like watching an anime itself.
Yes, the advent of LEDs and the onboard fans and the small microprocessors that can do animation with the LEDs in order to create fire effects and lightning effects within the costume. All that is amazing, and now none of that existed way back in that. You're talking about when con started. I can remember going to wow, I just lost it. I knew what it was. I was saying Star Wars, but that's the magazine. There was another company that did all those Star Trek conventions and creation cons. And the creation conventions would come around while Star Trek: The Next Generation was still playing on TV. And they would still go to the convention center, but they wouldn't fill it. So, and the costumes, of course, were Star Trek costumes because that's what I was there for, or X-Files. But there was it was little greens of wheat light bulbs. There wasn't LEDs. I mean, there was for Next Generation, but it still was pretty limited at what us in the public could get a hold of.
Right. Yeah. Since you've been kind of in the game of like conventions and such for so long, and I mean, you have been. It sounds like you've been on both sides, of both as a fan and as a person that's participating, putting on the show. When do you think, if you had to just guesstimate, just a rough guess yourself, when did things change in the Comic-Con culture? What was it? Because I know for Star Wars fans, and specifically for lightsabers, we deal with lightsabers with what I do. It wasn't until Force Awakens. It wasn't until Disney bought out Lucasfilm that it became more of a mainstream public thing where it was now cool to be a nerd. You would start to see, women in R2-D2 bathing suits. And, whereas before it was more of kind of like an underground thing. You hung out and watched it with your family or your buddies, but it wasn't, as I guess socially the norm or as accepted.
I suppose it depends on the crowd you run around with. I would peg it earlier than The Force Awakens. That would be more, still the 2000s.
Mhm.
And you're talking about people wearing the different costumes, women wearing the R2-D2 bathing suits. After Disney bought it, Lucas had control over what the merchandise was going to be, and he would say yes or no depending on how he wanted Star Wars to be portrayed.
Right.
Once Disney bought it, that reign was taken away, and that's why it's easy to go into a pet store now and pick up all sorts of crazy little fluffy
Star
dog
Wars
toys.
Pet Leash.
Star Wars Pet Leash, which just wasn't really there before, and it wasn't like that's a bad thing. It was just that helped bring all the Star Wars even more into everyone's lives, more into their view. Right? It's now even more prevalent, which I'm sure that made it more nerdy. Yeah, I went to high school in the 80s where you totally hid that you were a nerd, but when you hung out with everyone else, game on.
But when do you think that changed for popular culture in general? Because I know it wasn't with Star Wars. I'm not trying to say by any means that it was Star Wars, but there was a time period where you didn't have celebrities going to Comic-Cons, and then all of a sudden you did. I feel like maybe it was around the time that Marvel kind of started growing. Was when you started to see more, because you also started to see at that time people becoming more, I guess, okay with themselves, so they would make more elaborate costumes. When it became more, okay in the public, you saw the creativity just absolutely flourish with the costumes, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, no, definitely. The materials easier to get a hold of also made it a big change. When making a costume moved away from cutting up a couch foam or cutting up a couch for the foam and painting it with latex, which is this like multi-step process, to being able to buy EVA foam in multiple places. I can remember when EVA foam was suddenly available mail order without having the texture mat, because format foam still was the main thing even when I started my channel. I think people just got older, the generations changed. And as far as when more guests started showing up at a con, the big change for that, and I wish I knew the exact date, was the introduction of a new convention called Wizard World. I was actually talking to a vendor at New York Comic Con this last year who had been doing the convention circuit since the creation Star Trek days and the old, way back when. And what Wizard World introduced was pay for the autographs. Prior to that, at the creation cons, it was all free. It was part of the con. You'd show up, wait in line forever. And I remember getting James Doohan's signature. I got to meet and talk to most of the original cast.
Wow.
Wizard World would have introduced the idea of paying for autographs as a way of paying the stars to show up to be there at the con. And they started getting more and more people. And it's gotten to a point to where cons actually have to guarantee that their guest is going to make a certain amount by showing up. And and then they'll actually do it. And the guarantee is that if someone doesn't make that amount, then the con will make up the difference. It's sort of an appearance fee, right? That made a huge change. And then I think Hollywood and TV started recognizing the cons as a viable place for marketing. And as, Hall H became bigger and bigger and bigger at San Diego Comic-Con, that spilled out to the rest of the cons. Hall H was where Marvel was. It's where DC is. It's where 20th Century Fox is. It's where everyone goes to show off the new movies and the new shows. And so that spilled out everywhere else. Being a nerd for, 50 years, to me, this stuff has always been around. I can remember going to a comic convention or a Star Trek convention at a library in Castro Valley in the late 70s and meeting Majel Barrett Roddenberry, Gene Roddenberry's wife. She was there running the show. So it's kind of always been there in a way, but it's definitely gotten bigger, like you're saying. And I think a lot of it happened with Wizard World. I agree with the guy talking to me, because that felt like the right time. I can't pick a date. I would have to go back and look, because the idea of paying for an autograph took me by surprise, because I was used to the old way.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. No offense, it works great. It's awesome getting to see these guys, and you still can walk up and talk to them. You only have to pay for the picture or pay for the autograph. You can still wait in line, say hi, shake their hand, and walk off, and that's still all free. Meet and greet's still free, which is cool.
Right,
I definitely appreciate that.
Right.
Got to meet the Terminator Patrick. Man, hello, brain. I had dinner, I swear. The guy that played the T-1000 at Silicon.
Patrick.
Robert Patrick. That's Robert why Patrick, I'm saying his name. Yeah, I'm saying Patrick is the first name. So that was fun. Anyway.
What intrigues you, especially now? You're still doing props and all these things, all these many years later. What is it that keeps you, desiring to keep waking up and doing it over and over again? Are there more? Do you sometimes come up with challenges in your head and go man, how am I going to figure out how to do that?
Sometimes that is the linchpin that makes the build happen. It's like, oh, I bet if I did this, I could get that. And then that becomes the part that makes the build exciting. The rest of it is just filling in the blanks and coloring in the picture. Do I have an example of that? Not sure at the moment, because it just becomes this. How can I do? There's certain props that I do that. Okay, I know how to do that, and I can just go 1, 2, 3 and do it again. And to me, I'm slightly altering the art, slightly altering the steps, but you end up with an object that is got a different outside look that appeals to different people than the first one did, right? But the actual build of, say, making a blaster or making a modern day firearm type of weapon. The process for me is I'm layering foam and putting on additional little pieces on the side to make the texture. And whether I do that for, a World War II pistol or a giant like alien smart gun, it's kind of the same from my point of view. It's just one's bigger and maybe has a little more going on, but not really.
Right.
So having a challenge is totally stuff that gets me excited about doing it. I want to redo Mega Godzilla's chest, and I really want to have the door open because he's got a blinking red light with a Rocky Horror laser of doom that comes out of it. So that's kind of what I want to do. I've always did actually, but I wasn't able to. So I've been talking to Dr. Emmett about how to make a second version that's going to have a motor in it, so the little door can open up like a drawbridge. I've got a little LED plasma sphere, so it's not a true sphere in the the sense you're used to where you touch it like me, it's your fingers, but it's a little LED representation, so it's low power and it's not going to break. So I'll just put that in there because that gives me my lightning effect that's con safe.
Right, it's like doing George Lucas re-edits on your previous work.
Totally. Or you could think it's season 2, things get improved. Daredevil improved every season, The Tick improved every season. So, it's just season 2. Right. George Lucas, sure.
Now I know you do a variety. I mean, you do commission work, meaning that people hire you to do projects or make certain things. So some people will come to you and say, I want this. How can you make that happen? But then you also do your own projects, things that, ideas that you've had in your own head that you want to try out and create. What do you prefer doing? Do you like being given a direction to run in, or do you like being a creative bird and kind of floating where the wind takes you?
Oh, I love being a creative burden. That's a great term. Generally, I try to sidestep commissions. I do take them. I have one behind me that's going to be really hard to see. But most of the time when I'm taking commissions, it's for an event, right? It's for
a special,
it's a special thing, or a production that's going to roll in front of the cameras. Like I made a lot of props and things for music videos. I don't try to do. I've really tried not to take commissions at all for cosplayers, and it's not because I don't want to work for them. It's time. I don't have time to do my thing and to do something else. One of the reasons, partly, there's a lot of reasons. One of the reasons why I haven't had as many videos on YouTube recently is I've had a number of commissions that I've been trying to get out of the way so I can have time to do other things. I've ended up having a day job in order to support myself. That happened a long time ago. So now I've only got little windows of time that I can spend working on stuff. So for me, my goal is to try and make it look as close to what I saw on screen as I can. That makes me happy, right? So there's like a little bit of fuzzy wiggle room there. So, and often, as long as it looks good on camera or looks good like in a picture, that's all I'm really after, because that's all I'm copying is how it looked on screen and in a picture. It's kind of funny in a way that if you see the aliens from the movie Alien with the lights on, their highlights are painted on with fluorescent yellow paint. They look bad with the lights on, but they look good, the lights dim, and with the film color graded the way it is, because all that stuff becomes more subtle and you're just seeing just the parts you're supposed to see.
Right.
So in turn, you have to paint your alien to be that way, to be how it looks on screen, not how it really was on set. You know,
right.
But I have made props how they looked on set. Like I made the Grandmaster's melty staff from Thor Ragnarok, and when I did it, I made it to how it was on set, which was a plain gold with a plain orange ball on top, because they totally covered it up in CG. When the movie came out, it was way more intricate, had more stuff going on, but Jeff Goldblum was able to walk around with this reference item. Right. And so that's what I made, because that was fun for me to do that for me. Yeah.
That is I know you were working on something. I didn't know how top secret was, or you were allowed to talk about projects that you're working with, other things. So that's what I was kind of like referencing, was that I know that you do your work can be seen produced by other people, right? Oh,
it's black on black. Unfortunately, it looks really dark, so it's hard to see. But what I'm working on is a giant size Emmy for the national Emmys.
Yes.
Not national, excuse me, the regional Emmys, not national. Wow, I said that backwards because I'm trying to find my flashlight. No, that doesn't help at all. She's printed out in black ABS, so being behind me makes it hard to see. She's going to be an 8-foot tall replica of the regional Emmys. These are the Emmy Awards that are given out to news stations, to smaller syndication stations, and to PBS. It's for a smaller market. The national Emmys do syndicated shows, all the shows you've heard of that play coast to coast, right? But it's still run effectively by the same group. Right. And this will be happening actually this Saturday, because I've got barely enough time to get this done. It'll be happening this Saturday in San Francisco. So I'm going to bring her down. She's just going to be a giant statue for a photo op for the people who are attending the event. And then I don't know what's going to happen to her afterwards. I don't know where she's getting stored. I don't know if she's going to go to somebody's office and just be set up. I just know I don't want her to come back to my shop. She's a little big.
So now you've been running your channel for 9 years. So obviously that means if you've been running your channel for 9 years, there had to have been groups of people that were interested in learning how to build and do different things for much longer than that. Were these people always like cosplayers, or did people come from different organizations and kind of like cosplayers became, or builders became? Because not all builders are cosplayers. I know this, correct, right? Because but not all,
and not all cosplayers are builders. Yeah, no, you're right.
Right. Yeah. But you obviously found a very unique niche for yourself, to where people love following your work. You have a huge audience, and you've, like you said, you've been running your channel for 9 years.
Yeah, it inspires all sorts of people. In fact, somebody in the chat right now, Dan Does Junk, he got inspired to become a foam smith because of my channel when I was doing it. I think specifically because of the Gundam.
Right. He says, my Gundam suit exists because of Odin.
Yeah, Dan's great. What's awesome, he lives, close enough to me. I've had him come on for live streams, and we've actually worked on a collaboration commission together. We're making giant size Lego figures for somebody here locally. But I don't believe he was really a cosplayer prior to that. And then he also didn't really have a YouTube channel, I don't think, prior. Dan should correct me on that. So it's really fun for me and exciting for me that I've inspired other people to be creative and to make these things. And really, that was my biggest goal. Right. So I'm going to make, something goofy on screen. I'm going to make the Zap gun from Battlefield. I don't expect people to make the Zap gun from Battlefield. I just want somebody to get excited and to get creative and go make paper airplanes. Right. That's really all I wanted. That was the goal of my channel. So it's very exciting to me that I know of people who have gone on with that to get themselves, become a competitor, but they're not. YouTube is nice and big enough that we can all have channels and we can all have an audience, which I appreciate.
Right. Dan says his channel started out as more of a DIY channel.
Okay.
And M Digital says, seriously though, Odin got me into cosplaying for sure.
Oh,
So
right
yeah,
on.
so
Hello,
it seems
M
like
Digital.
you've inspired people in different directions, both with cosplay and with just prop building. Is it the same thing in your mind, or is it different? Because obviously when you're cosplaying, there's a human being and how human beings work, and go to the bathroom and have the need to breathe and eat and sit down.
And all that stuff's really annoying.
Do you prefer the props that you don't have to think about breathing, or do you like having the challenge of a costume?
I like the costume. I've gotten really into the props because for my channel, I could do one prop and be done and have a video, right? Especially with the point in my life when my channel was supporting me and my family, and I had to put a video out every week. It was easier to have a complete all one and done. Here's a prop, and now the video's done and it's out, and I can go on to something else. Right. I really enjoy the costume. I love wearing the Mechagodzilla costume, even though it's kind of a pain in the butt to put on. Right. And yeah, you have to make sure you go to the bathroom before you put it on. You got to make sure that you've hydrated before you put it on. I did have concern over heating, and I had breathing, and some concern over heat while building it. Right. So I've got a face shield that is actually leftover perforated grate from an air conditioning duct. And that's literally what's in front of my face. So it's easy for me to see through it. It's easy for me to breathe through it. And then the design of the monster has these black things on the side of his neck where like some big rivets are. Because the way the Godzilla monsters are generally, they've got their shoulders and they have this long lizard neck, and then there's a head on top. So my human head is inside of the neck of Mechagodzilla. And so those two slits in the side that have like big rivets, those are actually a privacy window screen from the hardware store. So it's I can hear through them. There's more airflow through them. If I turn my head, they're in line with my eyes, and I can kind of see a little bit to the side.
Oh wow!
So that is something I try to think about. And originally I was going to put a fan in the head to blow hot air out of his mouth, but I ended up not having enough space. I didn't really account for how much space I was going to have inside.
So I imagine you're not claustrophobic at all.
No, thankfully, no. I've worked with claustrophobic people. So back doing Rocky Horror Picture Show, all sorts of theater people would come up to me, want to make stuff, want to make the Phantom of the Opera mask. So I can remember one guy who. Well, I did it for one friend. Success, great. So his buddies, I want to do that too. Great, come on over, and explain to him that we're doing this in a really cheap, low-tech kind of way because of the skill and money, and we're doing it in the back porch of my studio apartment. Right. So the nice thing with the Phantom of the Opera mask is the lower part of his mouth is open, right? So breathing is not that big of a problem. Isn't that what it ended up being? Well, anyway, so we put a bald cap on him, and you put Vaseline over the eyebrows so you can say the eyebrows, and then literally it's plaster of Paris directly against the skin, right? Right. Which I don't recommend. It works. If you do a lot of it, you can raise the temperature to the point that you can conceivably burn someone, but really not. It never gets hot enough to burn. It's just really hot enough to be uncomfortable and feel like you're burning. Right. I was doing it fairly thin, but as we work our way down, I remember, I think he was all fine with his eyes and everything else until I covered his nose, I think it was, because we're leaving his mouth open so we can breathe, right? And then total panic, just this like animated, like what you see on TV or in movies. I couldn't tell, what's he spasming about. So you clear stuff off so he can breathe again. And he just suddenly says, I had no idea I was claustrophobic. Right. Oh my God. And so we ended up doing it where we didn't go over his nose because he still really wanted it to happen. He's completely blind, right? We got it over his eyes. And then came down his cheeks and let it set up. So his whole mouth and nose was open, and that was okay. He was okay with that. Right. Yeah, claustrophobia is definitely a thing. And if you are claustrophobic, or there's other sensitivities that can be weird. I know somebody who was dead set they're going to be Darth Maul. They wanted to be Darth Maul. They went out and bought the contacts to be Darth Maul because I'm going to do this. They couldn't put them in. right? They're trying to put
Oh.
the contacts in, and they spent $200 on these things 20 years ago, trying to put contacts in, and they just couldn't do it. They would tear up, and it would run the makeup. And for those of you who haven't worn cosmetic contacts, they're much thicker than standard contacts because of the print that's on them.
Right.
And then depending on how they were made, that print and how sensitive your eyes are, you might actually feel it ever so slightly. So they're like ever so slightly scratchy. Then they're not, because I've had them too, but they are. And then of course, then it's really weird because there's a little pinhole in the middle you actually look out of. So if you go in somewhere dark and your eyes dilate, you start to see the art, like a halo around your vision.
Right.
But anyway, we ended up being just drop the contacts. If people know you're Darth Maul, just don't wear them. Be comfortable, and it's not a big deal. And he didn't miss them, but it took convincing to skip it, because that was an element he didn't know of, that was uncomfortable. That's not really claustrophobia, but similar.
Right. We recently had Chris Bartlett on the show. He's going to be our guest August 3rd at Kyber Cave. Cool. But he is C-3PO on Disney Plus, and he does a lot of the other droids as well. But he was explaining how the mask, literally presses against your face, and he can only see, if you think of C-3PO, there's the little two black eye holes in the middle. That's his entire range of eye seeing. And that little, if you look at C-3PO, he's got a little slit at the mouthpiece, which is his only way to breathe. Because I had always assumed he had like air tubes or something, blowing in his nose.
Yeah, that's all Anthony Daniels ever had. And in fact, with the protocol droid suits, they can't sit down. So I don't know about Chris. I assume they do the same thing for him. For Anthony Daniels, they made a lean board, which I think goes back to stage stuff as well. Meaning it's a piece of plywood on an angle that might have a footrest, so he can back up to it, lean up against it, and kind of relax. He's not holding himself up anymore, but he's still standing. And then getting back to what's cosplay versus what's prop. I've listened to Anthony Daniels' audiobook not too long ago. Highly recommended, audible.com. Because he was in this robot suit and it was something, being worked with, the majority of the crew forgot he was a person, right? Because the whole stage is full of inanimate droids. You've got the R2 units that are remote controlled, unless, Kenny's in it. And so they'll forget that he's tied up in this thing and can't do anything. So that is, if you're going to cosplay something big and fully encompassing, make sure you have a handler. Make sure you have someone there, the con with you, that's a spotter for small children, which you won't be able to see, and to be able to help you get the mask off if you need something, a breath of air, answer a phone call, So same type of thing for poor Chris and Anthony. Hopefully the technology has gotten better, that Chris is able to get his head off faster. But I didn't talk to him about that. I got to meet him once at Lodi Con, and I know that he and his dad are both awesome people. So
wonderful. Because I think Anthony Daniels was saying back in the day it was like an hour to put the suit on, and they literally had to rivet in his headpiece. And I remember hearing an interview where he said only one time he got claustrophobic. It was a scene where Sarcrackles Cum is biting in his eye, and all of a sudden he just kind of freaked out for a minute. You know what I mean? And in all the years he's done it, that's his only.
That makes sense.
But that absolutely amazes me.
That's it. It takes a little bit of mental preparedness. Okay, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to be okay. I decided I wanted to do this. Yeah, it takes a little bit, but
if this feels like things that you kind of learn by doing. Is that what you share on your channel, or is that how you overcome some of your issues? Or
so issues for claustrophobia and like stage fright and stuff.
Not only the stage fright, but knowing that you have to have a handler, or maybe next time I need to have a little more headroom and insert it. You know what I mean?
A lot of those are things that you just learn. You learn by the liberal use of Band-Aids sometimes, unfortunately. And that's why I try to share, what I've figured out, or at least what I see. Having a handler is a very common thing at this point for anything that restricts your vision. And especially if you're going to have like stilts or something else that's going to restrict your movement. Roger Hummins is a friend, and I love his work. And if you watch, he's always got somebody with him too. He's never really by himself. They're close by. They're not, he's the spotlight, but they're close by. So definitely, yeah. You learn by doing. You know that you're not going to be able to open a door for yourself. You're not going to be able to push the button for an elevator. Most of these big costumes, stairs are the nemesis, like a Dalek. You're not going to be able to go up and down them. So you're stuck doing something else. There's the rare occasions that you get a costume that can't get up on stage for a costume contest because they only have stairs. They didn't put in a ramp.
Right. Jedi Council of America says Wookiees with stilts have some limitations.
Yes, they do. Sorry, I'm so used to looking at the camera. I'm not seeing the comments, so apologize if I miss them.
I'm going to go back, in fact, on some of these comments.
Okay.
There have been some fun ones directed at you. Odin pretty much introduced me to foam as a crafting material. Dawn Does Junk says that. Shady says got inspiration from him to build Minecraft.
Nice.
Jedi Council of America says 3PO suit is very claustrophobic.
Yes, it is.
Dawn says my Gundam head is pretty tight fit, but the vision is good and no issue with claustrophobia, which I do have, by the way. Ooh, that's got it.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, Dan did a really good thing with his costume. He's got, so back to vision. Our Gundam suit is built like 3PO, where when Joe puts it on, he's got a couple of little circles he can kind of look at him.
Right.
And then we switched that out for backlit LEDs, so his eyes would glow like Iron Man's do. But because now he has a light inside of his helmet, if it's darker outside, he can't see.
Yeah.
What Dan did was he's got a mesh underneath the mech's eyes, so he's looking kind of through the eyeliner underneath the mech, which gives him better vision. And because it's a mesh, it doesn't fog up. Right? It's a huge problem with helmets. You have a lens, it fogs up. But yeah.
That's amazing. What's up, Raphael?
Hello, Raphael.
I couldn't imagine cosplaying anything that was massive with limited vision. Let's see.
It's fun. It's goofy. Being a living Muppet is a lot of fun, and that's the best way I can describe it.
I'm sure there's a sense of amazement though that you must. I'm sure you get it from everybody when you're walking around and somebody sees, a huge Mecha Godzilla or a huge Gundam that is towering at 7 or 8 feet tall. I saw somebody at the last con, the VacaCon, they were doing an Optimus Prime, but they were on stilts. Which my only thing is when people do stilts, the only thing that throws my illusion off is I always think their arms need to be longer.
Yep. There was a Wookiee at one of the shows I was at recently where the guy wore stilts and they got him up to the right Wookiee height.
Right.
But it looked like instead of having his Wookiee hands, he should have just had bloody stumps, because his legs are the right height, but his arms, he's like a T-Rex Wookiee. And no offense to the guy, right? I'm not trying to be mean to him. It was just the proportions are wrong. And that's one of the things that throws me sometimes. And I never want to publicly point out to the cosplayer that, hey, what's up with your arms? Because that's not cool. Everyone's there to do cosplay to have fun, right?
Right.
So for me, that's not something I want to do because that doesn't equate to my fun because that's not what I saw on screen. Does that make sense?
Right. It kind of throws me out of the real.
Yeah, illusion. But to have mechanical grabby hands like the old toy and try to make that into your Wookiee arms, it's doable. But now they're getting bulkier, and you run into the problem of possibly looking like a Popeye Wookiee. And it's easier just to wear the gloves. Like it's easier to just not wear the contacts because ultimately it's cosplay. You're there to have fun. So don't care.
Anzabel 66 says once your vision fogs up, the panic button is pressed. I can definitely see people panicking or having those issues if they're feeling like they can't breathe or they can't see something.
So this one time at Burning Man, I used to buy a lot of gas masks, and that was a lot of fun to wear at Burning Man because it was Mad Max already from my point of view.
Right.
Wasteland Weekend did that way better, but I wasn't there for that. So wearing the Israeli-style gas masks that have a glass lens, and then you put a light stick or LEDs in there to make your lenses glow green. That's where I really found out, I can't see anything but the reflection of my own eyes. And then, they fog up, and now I can't see anything at all. So you end up wearing it on your head, right? So, okay, now I can see. But if you put it on for a picture, it's been on your head, it's full of condensation, you really can't see. So one of the things that works really well for vision for you guys, if you want to, go to the Goodwill, go to a thrift store and buy an old computer speaker, right? So you get the old, and the grills that are on the speaker are really fine metal mesh, so the sound can come out. That gives you a surface you can paint on in order to make the lenses kind of look like how you want them to look, or you could paint on eyes. For my Batman mask that I did, I just painted the white on the outside and black on the inside to not reflect light. And I've got really good vision through it. And because it's a mesh, it can't fog up. And it's, I can actually kind of almost breathe out of my eyes. But yeah. So the plastic thing, it's good, but you do want to have some kind of a vent if at all possible. Specifically with gas masks, if you guys don't know, the way they're designed inside, there's a valve mechanism. So you draw air through the canister, right, wherever it happens to be. So you're getting your air in that's filtered, and then that air washes over the screen of your lenses, and then you can inhale it. And when you exhale, there's a secondary set of valves that keeps your exhale from getting to where your lenses are, and it only goes out the bottom of your chin. So it's a one way in, one way out, and that's how gas masks keep their lenses from fogging up. That is really hard to do with cosplay at home with a hobby knife. So, you want to make sure you have some place for the heat to go that isn't going to just be your vision, because that sucks. Of course, the secondary thing. Yep.
Do you have yourself any recollections of or memories of something that you were really proud of yourself for overcoming? Like maybe there was an idea that you had, you couldn't figure out how to do it, and then all of a sudden a light bulb went off and you finally figured out how to make it work. What's your favorite memory of that type?
Probably going back to the early 90s when myself and some friends were making recreations of the rock band Gwar. So people are familiar with Kiss probably with Gene Simmons, and they have their Kiss suits that they wear.
Right.
Gwar was kind of the next step of that, where it looked like Citadel miniatures or Warhammer 40K miniatures combined with a Muppet, and then they tried to play music
big clown costumes. They were the predecessors to me. If people nowadays are into Slipknot and some of these other bands that wear masks and costumes, Gwar was one of the first ones where they would wear oversized spike heads. And I remember because I had a roommate that was obsessed with Gwar. So I've seen a lot of weird stuff that has haunted me for life.
Gwar's, they're not. They're science fiction horror. Yeah. So
what would amaze me is that they would be on stage, and I mean they also are playing heavy metal or fast music at the same time. So I'm thinking they've got to be in these costumes where they've got to be sweating up a storm. And then there's liquid shooting all over the stage and fireworks. So they've also got to be fire retardant.
To some extent, I think mostly they're fire retardant because they're all soaking wet.
This may be true.
So the first year we did it, we just cut everything out of couch foam and spray painted it, right? Because it's Halloween. Basically, we're doing this for Halloween. This wasn't a con thing. So what I was really proud of and overcoming was the next year we had the full costume. We could replace this spray painted foam with sculpted and cast things out of latex. And we ended up sculpting with, sculpting the spikes, sculpting the textured pieces that went on the shoulder pads, using a plaster of Paris mold, brushing it up with latex rubber. Then you pull it out and put it back in and backfill it with expanding flexible foam, which isn't as easy to get a hold of. And now it holds its shape, and it's rubber. And we figured out you could add India ink to latex rubber to tint the latex rubber. So if it tore, it was still kind of mostly black. It's kind of a really dark gray. So I think that was a molding and casting. I think was a big thing. But and that really opened up more stuff.
And by our third year, we all learned to play instruments
Yeah, all you do is learn to play instruments. Exactly.
Have you had anything that you have on the horizon that you want to try yet, but you just don't feel like maybe your skill set is quite yet there? You want to practice or experiment a little bit more before you try such and such?
Going to be probably more electronics, more animatronics. These are things that Shop Gremlin, who is a very valuable cohort, is way into, and they know what they're doing. But for me, for electronics, my limitation, I can pretty much rewire a flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty excited about learning more about how to make stuff move, how to make, like the flap for Mechagodzilla.
Right.
We talked about, I've got a mechanism set up because I'm brute force is one way of calling it, right? I set him up like a puppet. So his jaw's hinged and he's got a little stick in the back and he's spring loaded. So
Right.
when you're not touching it, it keeps his mouth shut. But if you pull on the string, then his mouth will open. And I wanted to have it hooked up to a thing on my chin, so as I talked, his mouth could kind of flop a little bit, right?
Right.
Or I could just, and then his mouth would open up.
Right.
And that worked, except the amount of friction of the string going back to the mechanism was greater than the strength of the spring. So I could get him to open his mouth, but it wouldn't close. So we're looking at how to make a servo unit that his mouth can open and close,
Right.
based off of optical recognition of dots on my chin or something similar.
Right.
It could be a switch or something that doesn't require my hands to make it work.
Right.
And that's a thing I'm excited about, because doing something like that will bleed over into more stuff.
Right. And, I don't know how familiar you are, or if there are, I'm sure there's other versions of this, but in the lightsaber world, we use what are called Profi boards or CFX boards.
Yep.
And, we can make different sound effects with our sabers, with the swings and different button configurations. You could do, you can make Mechagodzilla do, do his cry, and you can make you can hit another button and make the music plays. He's crushing buildings and things like that.
I had an old Fletcher Labs board.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I stepped on you. Have I used that kind of technology? You
Yes.
asked. I've made a lightsaber for a television show called Beyond Geek that used the old Obsidian board.
Yes.
And I had a Fletcher Labs board that I was working with, and then at the last second, it's like, oh, this is working great. Hit the wrong thing and fried it.
Oh.
So I have worked with those things. I've also worked with some Arduinos, Bluetooth stuff from Adafruit, and made blinky lights. Actually, no, that's not true. But anyway, in order to make like Green Goblin's Pumpkin Bomb and make it light up and have animated blinky lights on it. And that was all using one of these, I want to say Arduino, but Bluefruit, Adafruit. It's not Raspberry Pi. It's one of the other ones. But anyway, I actually had to program it using Python in order to make it work, which is okay. I don't mind code. I'm not good at it, but I don't mind it.
Right.
But as far as the boards go, the other thing I've done is actually take. So this is the lightsaber that I've made. I think the batteries are good.
Oh, wow.
In order to get the light up happen and to get the sound happen, it's got a little bit of flash on flash. The brain in this is actually the Hasbro toy from the old Obi-Wan build sabers, right? The $14 saber from Walmart. Yeah. Reworked this to have more batteries, and it has a relay in it. So when you turn the button on, the batteries go directly to a much higher single LED that's right around here somewhere. So all this is just a polycarbonate tube and diffusion.
Right.
And then I upgraded the speaker. But the basic brain is still the same $14 toy brain. You still find it thrift stores.
Right.
So yeah,
you too can build your own saber.
Yes, you can.
Well,
I've done a couple on my channel, and then Beyond Geek.
Oh, and we're getting ready to wrap up here in the next few minutes. It's been absolutely amazing. I can't believe how quickly time flies.
Right, agreed.
What do you have coming up for yourself and your workshop in the next few years? Are you trying to get out to more public events? Are you trying to work on more projects? Are you going to try to get out of the the 9 to 5 and get back into building full time, or what are your personal goals?
There's a lot to unpack there. So I did the YouTube that supported me, right? I did YouTube full time right at the end of 2019. It's like, okay, I'm making more on YouTube than on my day job. My day job's become my side job. And so let's go ahead and leave this and go do it full time, right? Worst case scenario, we're going to make the same amount of money. And okay, great. Of course, 2019 ended and something else happened.
Right.
And then in the background, besides just that, YouTube changed how they paid out for advertisements. If you're going to do stuff on YouTube and you want to make money there, aside from Patreon and YouTube memberships, it's ad revenue. And the majority of what you get is coming from Google's AdSense and ad revenue.
Right.
Up until 2019, 2020, if you had a YouTube channel, you had to opt in to have ads played on your channel. So there was only select channels that would play these advertisements. And so the pool was small and the money would go out more.
Right.
Somewhere in there during that time, Google decided, nah, everyone's going to get ads, whether you want them or not. But if you qualify, you can opt into making money from them. So now the value of the ads had gone way down. And even though I was putting out the same amount of videos and literally almost working myself into the hospital, I was earning a quarter of what I was earning just a year prior.
Wow.
So I don't expect to go back to doing my thing full time again, just because there's too much going on, right? I got to decide what I'm going to build, spend the time building it and shooting it, and then spend the time editing it together. And that is a lot of time. So other goals in the future, to get more videos going out, because I enjoy the process of doing it. And I love the interaction that I get from when a video comes out and talking to people through comments or seeing somebody at a con. So I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. I just don't expect it to go back to being my full-time thing. I've got a 9 to 5.
Right.
I'm very grateful for that. I don't want it to go anywhere. So in the future, I'm looking at streamlining exactly how I'm doing this behind the scenes. I still have some things set up from the way I was doing it, where it was the main income that has a cost associated with it. So I'm going to try and kind of downsize behind the scenes a little bit, but what you see on camera isn't going to change. So those are some of my more long-term kind of goals.
Excellent.
Yeah. Otherwise, nah, this is fun. It's my big artistic outlet, and yeah, I don't think I'm going to go anywhere.
Well, you are an absolute master of what you do. Dan Does Junk says a video every week. Great for you. Must have been crazy to do, I'm sure. Yeah, there's a lot of, when people talk about being a YouTube star, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. It's more than just the video that you watch while you're, while you're sitting there eating your popcorn. People don't realize how much work goes on behind the scenes to make that video happen. And then, there's a lot of cost associated, especially with what you do, because there's so much research and development that's happening at the same time. It's not just like you're going to make a helmet every time and you know exactly what's going to happen every time. Sometimes stuff comes up and you need to go a different direction.
You got to figure something new out in order to make it interesting to keep doing it. Because if I make the same helmet 5 or 6 times, I'm bored with it. I know how to do. Let's go watch the other video and change your paint job. No, you're right. And when you start going down a road to build something, to make a helmet for a video, and you realize 2 days in that you could have done it easier, but you can't make that time up because here comes Wednesday when I want my video to come out. So yeah, no, I would easily spend, most people work a 40-hour work week. My channel was an 80 to 160-hour work week.
Ooh.
Yeah, there were times when I was not sleeping, up all night trying to get the edit done, getting it rendered, uploading it to YouTube, and still was a few minutes late for the video to go live.
You were editing yourself?
Oh yeah, it was totally a one-man show.
Oh my goodness.
Yep,
that is crazy. I would not know what I would do if I had to do this show all by myself. I would be lonely.
Right? Yes, it's hard. I'm grateful that I have other people that want to hang out now, and I have more interaction in the shop. But for the longest time, Yeah, it's just me and my cameras. And then when it's all over with, I got to go listen to me talk for another 2 days while I'm writing the script and trying to edit it together.
Right. And
Yeah.
then you got to get ready for the next one.
Yep.
And then think of the show for the week after that.
Yeah, there's this overlap. There's what I'm currently building on, and then windshield time. You're driving to and from the shop or to and from work, because my shop's not in my house, by the way.
Right.
So it's a commute to get to the shop. There's that windshield time when you get to think about either how you're going to solve the problem you got yourself into, or how am I going to make my next prop? How am I going to make what's coming up? And the shower is another one where I'll do a lot of my like, oh yeah, I can do it like this. Because I'm in some other place where my brain can work on the problem because I know what I'm doing. I don't need to put a whole lot of thought in how I wash my hair. So.
Exactly. You get to zone out in a different realm, and then all of a sudden the answers come to you. Odin, I have had absolutely an amazing time with you. You are an amazing guest. I'm always been, like I said, I've been dying for the last couple of years to get you on the show ever since I saw your work. Thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you for your channel that you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been great. Been looking forward to this as well, because I kept trying to tell you yes, and then we just kept not.
Right. And then exactly. But it has finally happened. Hopefully, another 6 months or so, we can bring you back and see how you've grown and what new projects you're working on.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, Odin, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, mental note. Doing that interview made me think of a different way we should be doing this segment. Like, I feel like we should almost be doing, and I know this is more work and stuff, but hopefully when Metz gets back, she'll be re-energized and we can figure out how to make it happen. But when you're watching news segments and they're interviewing someone and then they bring up pictures of like the car that crashed into an Arby's or something like that.
Yeah.
I would love to have had his pictures of, some of the designs that he was talking about, some of the things he was talking about.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. It's not his fault. That's totally our fault. That's us not being creative enough to think ahead and go, oh my God, we should have done that. But that makes me think, in that segment, that would be a thing that we maybe should consider doing in the future, is getting a few more photographs or something that we can just kind of show and even lead the person into. That was absolutely amazing.
He was amazing. Is amazing. He's amazing. I was just totally entranced. I didn't even realize that my mic was on. I don't know if you guys could hear it or not, but my mic was on. And I'm sitting there going, ah! And then
I saw you geeking out in the like, I could see you in the screen downstairs. I could see you geeking out.
I was geeking out. Star Trek's my jam. So
and I did not mean to put you in a spot, but I thought, because I know you go to cons and stuff like that, so I thought you had seen his work at some of the local cons, because he's been to several of them. So I didn't mean to put you on the spot or anything. I just, for some reason, one of the cons that you and I were at together, I know he was also at, but maybe you didn't see him there or something like that. So
either we just didn't interact. I could have seen him and then be like, "That's a really cool costume," or "Oh, that's so cool," and then got busy and did other things. I mean, that happens all the time. I mean, I have all these projects that are supposed to happen and they don't, and so I'm not generally doing a lot of the cons because I'm like trying to get things going or done, and then they don't happen, and I'm like, crap.
Right. Well, he is absolutely amazing. I know the makers and the crafters, we are, especially in his area, are very lucky to have him and his depth of experience. And like I said, if you ever get to see this Gundam walking around on the stage, or his Mecha Godzilla,
I think I have seen it.
You would be absolutely amazed, because it looks like metal. I mean, and then even the Gundam looks like, like lived in metal. So it looks like metal, but like a little bit rusted and a little bit, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I think I have seen it, actually, because I've seen a few mecha costumes and they look incredible
Right.
at the con. So I probably have Odin. I probably have seen Odin, and I just didn't know that it was him.
Well, all of Odin's information again is down in the information box. If you have not checked out his YouTube channel or his Facebook and his Instagrams, make sure that you do that. If you can meet him live, he's an amazing gentleman to talk to. So much fun. I've seen him at a couple of different cons, and every single time he's just happy to talk to everybody.
I just want to talk to him about Star Trek now. That's I just want to fangirl over Star Trek. That's like my thing. So
all right. If you can't see him, but he's doing.
I saw it. Yes, absolutely.
All right, Miss Captain O'Captain. For everybody, I want to thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us. Do not forget, you can head over to kybercave.com and help support this channel by buying a saber of your own. We have a 10% off on sabers right now, and if you buy 3 sabers, you get a free Acolyte saber in honor of the Acolyte show that is out now. We're also going to have a Father's Day special coming up where it's going to be like a Luke and Vader's bundle, or like Luke or maybe Anakin and Leia or something. We'll figure it out. We'll have
sounds like so much fun.
Father's Day bundles and stuff like that. Do not forget about August 3rd. And kcpmerch.com. I don't have any of this stuff around me.
Yeah, kcpmerch.com. We have one more comment here. Like and subscribe. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Doing our work for us. Like and subscribe.
That is what I wanted to tell you too. 33 more people. 33 is the number. When we get 33 more subscribers, we are giving away a NeoPixel saber. So we are going to be giving away not just a basic combat saber, but one of the more higher end, $400, $500, $600 value lightsabers. So all you have to do is like and subscribe. When you see the numbers get to 00, tune into that Sunday show and leave a comment. But of course, unless people are subscribing, we can't get there. So please share this show so that your friends can learn the beauty too. And also learn how fabulous Odin is and start following his work. Yeah,
please follow Odin. He's incredible.
Don't forget, August 3rd, my friends, Vacaville, California is going to be the place to be. KyberCon 4 for free. What do we got? We just got the TikToks.
We got some TikToks. Yeah, we got some Saber Rattle TikToks. So let's move on out with that.
Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us this week.
Thank you so much, everyone.
We'll be back again next week.
Yes.
Peace.
Bye.